Good evening. My name is Taylor Stanley. I'm the Family Engagement Specialist for DC Public Schools, and so I'm really excited to be with you all tonight to talk about enrollment pathways and applying in the My School DC lottery. My daughter's turning 2, so she doesn't, 2 this month, so she doesn't meet this year's time frame, but next year I'm going to be all in this, looking at all the tips, learning what I hear from Lauren about all of the amazing opportunities and ways to learn about our schools and how you do the lottery. What's the difference between a feeder or all these other different terms that you've heard, but giving definitions to it. So I'm really excited to be with you all today. Before we start, I want to let you all know that we have subtitles or captions. So what you do is look for the gear icon at the bottom right corner of the video player. Then you select captions/subtitles, and then you choose the language. And so we're happy to have this feature. I like captions for myself, so feel free to use them. We are using Microsoft Teams, and so even though this feels kind of detached, we are a community. So we want to be able to have you all use the Teams Q&A feature to ask questions, to share any insights that you might have, and then also if you see questions that other participants have posted, and you're like, yeah, I want to answer that question too, go ahead and give it an upvote by pressing the thumbs up sign in the top right-hand corner of the question. And of course, you can also ask anonymously. It's entirely up to you. We want to make sure that you feel comfortable. With that said, again, we are a community, so we're asking everyone to assume best intentions. We're asking you to go hard on ideas, not on people, and then accept non-closure. This is an unprecedented time for us, and so we can only have our best guesses, particularly about what the next school year is going to look like. So we may not have all the answers to that for you right now, but we do want to make sure that when the 2021-22 school year starts, that you know where your child is going to school. And so that is what we're helping you with today. So a fun thing that our folks at Early Childhood Education have started is their own strand of parent university called Ready for Pre-K. And so this is a session for families with 2-year-olds who are trying to figure out this parenting thing and who want to get their kids ready for pre-K 3. And so they're having their second session, building your children's language skills. And that'll, as it sounds, talk you through, how do I, build my child's vocabulary? What are some tips that I can use? So please join us for that. And then also we have a Spanish version of the workshop that we did last week, talking about race with your children. And so we'd love to have our Spanish-speaking families. It's all in Spanish. We have Spanish facilitators, and so we'd love to have our Spanish-speaking families join us for that crucial topic. You can RSVP for these 2 workshops. These are our last 2 for the year at bit.ly/DCPS Parent U RSVP. And just keep checking it because we'll have more workshops coming up in the new annual year, so year 2021. So we're excited to have you all join us again next year. I want to hand it off to my friend Lauren Brooks, and she's the reason why you all are here. So I'm going to pass it on, and thank you so much for joining us, Lauren.
No problem. Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Am I good on sound, Taylor? Perfect. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. Again, we meet again for another virtual Parent University night, and this sucks because the original Parent University that we had, which I think was the only one we've had in person at Brookland last fall, it just sucks to be in this virtual space. But nonetheless, happy to be here, and looking forward to sharing as much information with you all tonight. Again, my name is Lauren Brooks. I serve on the Enrollment Growth Team as the Strategic Enrollment Initiatives Coordinator, which for lack of better terms is the Lottery Coordinator. And I'm joined here with the Director of my team, Director of Enrollment Initiatives, Emerald Becker, and we are happy to be here and ready to, dive right in and answer your questions. So next slide, Taylor. So just, in case anyone is not entirely familiar with DC Public Schools, DC Public Schools is the local public school system of Washington, D.C. It is free to all DC residents. Every student that is K through 12, age appropriate for those grades, who lives in Washington, D.C., has at least one right to attend school in every grade band, that's elementary, middle, and high, and that is based on where he or she lives. And at that point, they can enroll at any point in that school. A right to attend school is a DCPS school where students can enroll in grades K through 12 and do not have to go through the My School DC lottery. There are two types of right to attend schools for DCPS students. That is in-boundary schools and feeder pattern schools. Students have the right to re-enroll in their current school for the upcoming school year. So that's something we always want to point out, that when you are currently enrolled in a school, as long as you complete that school, you are eligible for re-enrollment the next year. Now, we mentioned K through 12 being the right to attend grades. Just want to give a friendly reminder that pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 students are non-compulsory students, since they are not obligated to be in school in those grades. Students do not have rights to those schools, which is why they have to in turn apply to the lottery. But we'll get into more of that, and then we'll also share more information about, if you are interested in a DCPS school outside of your boundary, what the My School DC process looks like. Next slide, please. Okay, so Taylor, really quick, I'm going to tap you. I'm not sure if we can do this activity on this. Can we click the link, or how do they have access to the PowerPoint?
Sorry,
we could have checked that earlier.
If someone, we can type it into the chat.
Okay. So what are your in-boundary schools? This link that is ready to be shared with you is our Find Your In-Boundary School link. And we're just going to do a really brief activity using the chat. And Emerald, I'm going to ask that you just man the chats if you can, because I'm having my issues with my going off of mute or flipping screens, and I don't want to mess anything up. But using your home address, once we have that typed into the link into the chat box, we're going to find your in-boundary elementary, middle, and high school. And then if you don't mind, just drop those 3 schools in the chat box, and just to see who may be, living in the, close by to where you may live. So we can take some time once. I'm not sure the link is populated into that chat box yet.
It's in.
Yep, in there.
Okay. So this is just a good way, again, to see who may be close by, who may be, students, living close by, and your students may be attending schools, or maybe they already do attend schools at this point together. I don't know if we have time to call out a few, if we're seeing like common boundary feeder patterns.
So fun fact, I am a DC resident, and so my in-boundary elementary school is Aton, and my middle school is Kelly Miller, and then my high school is Woodson, but then also depending on what programmatic strand my child were to choose, we would also have rights to Eastern. So and so it's great that you're here to talk about some of like what's a programmatic strand, a feeder strand, so that and then having also our friends to talk about the newest resource for families, which is the middle school guide to our NAF academies. So, but Lauren, if we see folks pop up with it, I can read them out later, but we can also keep running.
Not a problem. But again, everyone, should use this to determine if you were not sure previously of what schools your students currently have rights to, based on your home address. So definitely bookmark that page. And if you haven't had a chance to look at it, definitely look at it again later. And we also want to point out that, oh, go ahead, you're good. I was going to say, sorry, that, sorry, when you went back that through, okay, not a problem. So what is a feeder pattern school? So a feeder pattern school is a school that a student has a right to attend based on the completion of the terminal grade, so that's 5th or 8th, of a student's current school. The assignment only happens during the year the student moves from elementary to middle school, and again from middle to high school, or from an education campus to a high school. And we just want to point out there are two different types of feeder patterns, one being a geographic feeder, the other being a programmatic feeder. A geographic feeder is grouped by school boundary and proximity. Once a student receives a lottery match or a waitlist offer to an out-of-boundary school, they have the right through the entire feeder pattern. Rights do not extend to students who enroll as in-boundary students and have then moved out of boundary, or out-of-boundary students who withdraw. Programmatic feeder patterns are organized by a specialized program of study, provides a right for a student enrolled in a specialized school, program, or program, to enroll into the next level school within the specialized course of study. So this happens, let's say a student is in a Montessori program and they are attending the Montessori program at Langdon Elementary School. That student at 5th grade has the right to enroll at the Montessori program at Capitol Hill Montessori. So they are able to follow that pattern as long as the student completes 5th grade in the Langdon Montessori program. They can follow that track right to Capitol Hill Montessori. Excuse me, it was slipping my mind. Also, we see that with our dual language schools. So a student would have the right to follow a feeder pattern to our dual language schools. And then we similarly see this with our STEM program schools. So these are the 3 programmatic feeder patterns that a student can follow, that they would have rights to a school, even though they may be out of boundary to that school. Okay, so what is an out-of-boundary school? An out-of-boundary school is a school other than a student's in-boundary school. So any school outside of a student's in-boundary is an out-of-boundary school for them. Students are not able to have automatic rights to attend an out-of-boundary school, and they are only allowed to enroll into an out-of-boundary school and gain access to their feeder pattern after receiving a match or waitlist offer. And of course, that is only through the My School DC lottery. So when do I need to use the My School DC lottery? This is something that I know everyone is wanting to know. So families interested in enrolling in a school other than their current in-boundary or feeder school are required to apply via the My School DC lottery. A lottery application is required for each of the following: to attend a preschool or pre-kindergarten program at any DC public school not currently attended, attend grades K through 12 at an out-of-boundary DCPS school not currently attended, attend a DCPS citywide school, attend a DCPS selective high school or program not currently attended. So quick reminder, a lottery application is not required to enroll in your K through 12 boundary or feeder school, or to re-enroll in your current school or your feeder DCPS school. Now, this is just a quick reminder. I know everyone is probably aware, but the My School DC lottery will open on Monday, December 14th. This weekend, we are very excited for the first ever 2020 virtual Ed Fest. So we are so excited to see you all. We hope you will be coming out. The link is shared in this PowerPoint. So if we can drop it in the chat box, that would be great. But hopefully you registered this year, since the event is virtual. To access the platform, you have to register in advance. You can register on the day of, but registration is required. And I just want to give a small, also friendly reminder and just a quick tip that even if you're unable to attend, so let's say you register and then something comes up where you cannot attend on Saturday, the event will live online via your registration link for a month after the actual date. So it will be live online until January 11th. So let's say Saturday comes and you just are not able to attend. As long as you pre-registered, you are good to go, and you can log in via that link that comes to you after you register, and you can get access to the event to see all school booths. You won't be able to engage with schools after the event happens, but you can go, you can visit, you can view the general chats to see other questions that families have. So definitely, we look forward to everyone coming out and checking out our DCPS booths. And definitely stop by our central office booth too. We are excited for this event. It's not going to be like what we're accustomed to, but it's still going to be great. All right. So next, just sharing some key resources with everyone. First being your Find Your In Boundary School, which we already have shared. Next, we have a few booklets that we look forward to circulating this time of year. Each year, but due to different, things out of our control, these following booklets are not going to be uploaded as of yet. They will be uploaded as of January, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely look forward to the updated DCPS feeder pattern booklet, which goes through every high school, every destination high school's feeder pattern from elementary, middle to middle, and then ultimately to the destination high school. It also covers programmatic feeders as well. So STEM, dual language, and Montessori feeders are covered in this booklet. Next, we have our DCPS high school booklet that will also be updated in the coming weeks. That outlines information about all of our DCPS high schools, followed by our DCPS middle school booklet, which outlines all of our middle schools and their programs and offerings. So again, that, and lastly, our DCPS school profile booklet that will also be updated as well. So we look forward to you being able to get the updated 21-22 versions. Again, everything is in print right now. With this pandemic, things are unable to be produced as quickly as we're accustomed to. So we just look forward to you guys being able to log on and access all of the updated ones soon. You can always access the My School DC School Finder, which is available online now. The School and Boundary Implementation Plan, which always gives updates on like feeder pattern changes or any historic changes that have happened over the year, grandfathering rights. You can find information about those types of things there. And then lastly, our DCPS Enrollment and Lottery Handbook, which I'm not sure if that's publicized yet or updated one, but it is very close to, if not. I think our team just finalized the updates for next year, so I believe if it's not publicized yet, it will be in the coming days. But these are some key resources that definitely, if you're looking to learn more about DCPS, this is where you would want to go. All right. So here we're just going to share some tips and strategies. Many of you may have students that, or incoming students that are going to be entering in those entry-level grades, or maybe you're looking to, transition to a new school, but just some tips and strategies to learn more about your school community. Visit their websites. Our schools have been working very hard on their websites and updating them, especially in the midst of, after COVID. So familiarize yourselves with their programs and offerings. That's always good to see if their programs and offerings match or are a balance for what you're looking for your child. Follow their social media platforms. Be on the know so that you do not miss anything in terms of upcoming events, important news, and updates. Attend a PTA or PTO meeting. Attend an open house. Open houses are happening now. So definitely feel free to check that out on our website as well. And also you can attend a school community virtual event. And lastly, talk to families at their school about their experiences. So that's always key as well. Getting feedback from other families is always important. And Taylor, I'm realizing I just did your slide, I think.
No problem. You did it. You did it fabulously. So, no, not a problem. And clearly, my hands are full. I've got a toddler asking me to help her with her tablet. So with that being said, here we go.
Yes, and we now have, these are just key dates again for the upcoming lottery season. So again, 2020 Virtual Ed Fest is this coming Saturday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Again, registration is mandatory. Monday, December 14th, the My School DC Lottery opens for all grades. That's pre-K 3 through 8. Then we have the lottery deadline for our high school applicants, which is Monday, February 1st at 11:59 p.m. So again, you have all day to submit that application. If you have a high schooler, just make sure it's submitted by 11:59 p.m. A month later, Monday, March 1st, again, 11:59 p.m. is the application deadline for grades pre-K 3 through 8. Then we have Friday, April 2nd, which is when lottery results are released. And in addition to that, enrollment opens for school year 21-22. So all students are able to be enrolled or re-enrolled if they're remaining in the same school as of that date. And then for all of our lottery match students that matched on April 2nd, they have 1 month to secure that lottery match seat. That date to secure the seat by is Monday, May 3rd. So definitely, if you're getting if you get a match, you want to make sure you accept that seat. Even if it's not at your #1 school, we still always encourage you to accept that seat. All right.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. What a question that I have is, if I were to enroll my child in charter school, in elementary school, do I still have in-boundary rights to my middle school?
Of course. As long as you remain as a DC resident, you will always have in-boundary rights to a school based on your home address. That's for elementary, middle, and high school. So at any point in time, you can, choose to withdraw and enroll in your in-boundary school.
And how many, for the lottery, how many slots do I have to fill in?
So you can apply up to 12 schools in the My School DC Lottery. So the thing is, you're not required to apply to 12 schools. We typically see that families apply to more schools for younger grade students, but as they get older, we see less schools on their list. But there is, no requirement or, limit up to 12. You're not required to, do 12, which you can. But even after the lottery results come out, we also like to inform families, let's say you don't get your, ideal school, you are waitlisted at all schools that you apply to. You can always go back and add more schools then in your post-lottery application. So if you don't get your ideal school, don't lose hope. You may get a waitlist offer, but in the meantime, it's also good to get added to new waitlists. So definitely want to include that.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren.
No problem.
And then, folks at home, if you want to add a couple questions, we're happy to answer them. We'll also have a second round of questions later. One more question, and I guess it's to make doubly sure, especially for our families who are of our youngest learners who may not have done the My School DC application. If my child is entering into pre-K 3, do they have automatic rights to their in-boundary school?
In certain scenarios, and I say that because DCPS has 16 early action schools, and with early action schools, if you are in boundary to them, you are guaranteed a seat if you do not get a match at another school. So that's only at our 16 early action schools. You have to be in boundary to those schools to take advantage of that. But yes, in those instances, you can be guaranteed a seat if you do not match at another school. So outside of that, though, since pre-K, preschool and pre-K are not compulsory grades begin at kindergarten. Outside of that, you are not guaranteed guaranteed enrollment in the school, nor do you have a right to attend that school.
But even if I am early action
Mm-hmm.
for one of those 16 schools, I still have to enter into the lottery, correct?
Absolutely, yes. That is always step number one for our pre-K students, and for out-of-boundary students, apply through the My School DC lottery. And that also includes if you have siblings. If you have siblings attending the school, newer siblings that are maybe coming into pre-K 3, they do not have automatic rights. They still have to apply to the lottery. You can receive a sibling preference, but applying to the lottery is still required. And again, that is depending on you getting a match or a waitlist offer.
Awesome. And Lauren, we have a question from one of our families at home, wanting to know what is, and because you are like the mastermind behind this this EdFest,
Yes.
from what I heard. So they want to know from you, what's your advice for navigating the virtual EdFest on Saturday? Since it's virtual, will families be able to move from one booth to the other? Give us a sneak peek.
Yes, so a sneak peek to 2020 Virtual EdFest. Yes, you will be able to move from booth to booth. What'll happen is when you enter the event, so you have to sign in using your email address and a password that you create. You log into the event and you're going to see, we're calling it an expo, but all of the schools, exhibitors, non-school exhibitors, community-based pre-K centers will be all listed. Schools are broken down into pre-K 3 through 8 and 9 through 12. If you're looking for pre-K 3 through 8, you select that filter and you just scroll through and you get to visit the booths of all of the schools that you're interested in. So all of our schools will have videos. They'll have different documents, pamphlets, brochures. Some schools will have live Zoom presentations going on. All of our schools will have video chat options. Also, they'll have general chats. You can also send direct messages to staff if you have maybe more of a personal question that you didn't want to put in the general chat. But yes, there are a lot of options. Our schools cannot wait till Saturday. Just make sure you are registered, and that way you have access 11 to 2 on Saturday, and we can't wait to see you.
And then Lauren, really briefly, because I know that one of the things that there is a booklet that talks about our different programmatic feeder patterns. Mm-hmm. Could you expand a little bit on the STEM and dual language and Montessori feeder system for the,
Sure.
So particularly for, with the lottery, how do you, I guess, apply for each one?
Right. So to gain rights to a programmatic, feeder pattern, if you are out of boundary, you are still required to submit a My School DC lottery application. For our dual language schools, once you submit the application, you do have to, for grades 2nd and up, go through a Spanish proficiency testing at the school. So that happens at the school level. So enrollment is still contingent on you passing that, but once it is passed and you are enrolled into an elementary school, you are able to follow that elementary school's feeder pattern to a dual language, to whatever dual language middle school that feeds into, and then to that destination dual language high school. So same system applies for the Montessori schools. There is not a test for the STEM programs. But there is a test for the Montessori schools, and I believe, and Emerald, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there is a test for the Montessori schools as well, but there is no exam for entry for the STEM programs.
There's no exam or entry for the STEM programs. I don't believe there's a test for the Montessori program. It's more like having previous Montessori experience is recommended. but I don't think that, but they don't test for those.
Thank you.
No problem.
Great. Thank you so much, Lauren and Emerald. You all have been really helpful walking our families through the lottery program, and then also telling us about the difference between a feeder pattern and geographic or programmatic. That's extremely helpful, and we can come back and answer some additional questions on the back end. I'm really excited to be able to introduce the amazing folks behind our newest tool for families, particularly for families of 8th graders who are like, what are all my options for high school? And so I'm really glad to be able to introduce to you Amelia Hogan, and she'll give you a rundown of the new middle school guide. So Amelia, take it away.
Thank you, Taylor. Good evening, everyone. Like Taylor said, my name is Amelia Hogan. I'm from the College and Career Programs team with DC Public Schools, and I'm excited to have you all this evening to learn more about this exciting new tool. So before I talk to you about the resource itself, which we call the Middle School Guide, I'll talk to you a little bit about some signature programs that we have in our high schools in DCPS that you may or may not have heard of before. They're called NAF College and Career Academies. The basics of what our NAF College and Career Academies are is that they are industry-focused learning communities that students can join, whether they're starting in 9th grade or 10th grade, depending on which high school, to learn more about career and college options that are designed around their interests. So we have academy themes in hospitality, we have health sciences, we have engineering, we have information technology. The list goes on and on. We have several dozen different options for students, depending on which school they attend for high school. They prepare students, like I said, for both college and career. So any student, regardless of what they're planning to pursue after high school graduation, are a great fit for these college and career academies. And they provide students with an additional level of support that is really unmatched from any other high school program. So that support includes academic mentoring and advising. So making sure students are up to speed with what's happening in the classroom, in and outside of their academy classrooms. They're provided with personalized guidance on what is that after graduation plan. Is it going to be right into a 2-year college program, a 4-year college program? Maybe we have a lot of students in our health sciences are planning on medical school. So it's really the entire range of options for what's after high school. And then students are provided a whole spectrum of work-based learning activities that expose them right away, starting in 9th grade or 10th grade, to the industry. So mentorships with professionals in their field of interest, internships by the time they get to a 10th and 11th grade, guest speakers in the classroom. In some academies, almost weekly, industry professionals from around the DC area are in the classrooms talking with students. So these are really hugely beneficial programs, and we see a huge difference in the outcomes for students in our academies. Our students are more engaged, they have better attendance rates, they have higher graduation rates. As you can imagine, because they're excited, they're really, really excited about what they're learning about while in high school. Here is a look at where all of our NAF academies are in DC. So you can see we have academy programs in all except for one ward of the city. We have them at 12 of our DCPS high schools, some of the high schools that are neighborhood by right high schools, some of the high schools that require an application. And you can see the different academy themes that we have across the city. So like I said, health sciences, engineering, and IT. Some of our additional programs, brand new this year, is a foreign policy and diplomacy program at Roosevelt High School. We have a couple of culinary arts programs. Am I missing anything? We have a biotechnology program. We have automotive. There's only one automotive service and repair program in the city. That's at Ballou. So you can see there's a little bit of everything all around the city, giving students really great options regardless of which high school they attend. One thing I like to show to really show the impact of what the possibilities and opportunities are for students in a NAF Academy is these two sample resumes for students. These are not real students, but they are based on real students that I have had in my program. I used to be an academy director in a DCPS high school myself. So on the left, we have student A. If you can see her experiences, her made-up name is Maya. On the right, we have Jahim, who's a fake student name, and his experiences there on the right. I would normally say, raise your hand and guess which one is the NAF Academy student. I think if you take a moment to review what the content is of each of these students' resumes, it becomes pretty clear. And I think that this is an important demonstration on the skills, experiences that a student will leave high school with when they're in a NAF Academy. And just to say, Jahim on the right here also looks like a really great student, right? He's had some opportunities. He's had summer jobs. He's had community service and leadership opportunities. But you take an average student and give them the opportunities that they have in a NAF College and Career Academy and DCPS, and they just sort of reach a new level with those opportunities that they'll leave with in high school, as you can see on Maya's resume on the left here. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Chloe to talk about the middle school guide. We're going to pop into the chat 2 additional resources on NAF Academies. One is our CTE program website, which says just a little bit more details about all of the DCPS academies, as well as we have a video that highlights one of our NAF Academy programs from last year in the spring. So after schools went virtual in March, the Culinary Arts Academy at Roosevelt High School, which is one of our new ones. Chef Wiggins was featured in local news stations giving virtual cooking lessons to his students in the academy. He was really creative and innovative in engaging with his students, and it's a really cool video featured in the local news. So take a look at that if you're interested in learning more. And now I'm going to turn it over to Chloe.
Great. Thanks so much, Amelia and everyone. So excited to be here with you this evening to talk about a new resource, which Taylor mentioned earlier. It's called the Guide to College and Career Academies, or the Middle School Guide. It is for 8th grade students, and it is a brand new resource this year, actually just released at the beginning of last week. So we're very excited to be with you this evening. If you've got an 8th grade student or anyone who's younger than an 8th grade student, you definitely want to tune into this for this new resource that's coming your way. So DCPS really wanted to make sure that students and families knew about these great programs, the NAF College and Career Academies, as they were thinking about where to attend high school and exploring their options. We heard on the College and Career Programs team a lot from parents and families of middle school students last year that they wanted to know more about what the preparation pathways were for college and career in different DCPS high schools. And so based on that feedback, DCPS created this new middle school guide to college and career academies, which you can see a snapshot of that on your screen. This is a personalized guide for each 8th grade student. So it says the student's name, it's got information specific for them, and it shares more about what the college and career academies are at each student's in-boundary school, and then all of the different options that folks have across DCPS. So as Amelia mentioned, there are 25 NAF college and career academies at 12 different schools, so there's a lot of options. If you have an 8th grader, you can actually find this personalized guide now in the Aspen parent portal, which I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to find that guide in a second in the Aspen parent portal, but it's also being mailed to you directly to your home. So you should find it in the mail soon to you. And as I mentioned, if you don't have an 8th grader, but you have someone who's in 7th grade, 6th grade, 5th grade, this is the first year of the Guide to College and Career Academies, but we're planning on sharing it with families every year. So you can look out to this in the future, not for this year, but when you're planning in later years for where you want your student to attend high school and where they're interested. And so you can go to the next slide, Taylor. So just to share a bit more about what's actually on the Guide to College and Career Academies, you can see on your screen that this is a guide for a made-up student, Juan, a student, not a real student. It might surprise you to know. You can see the front side of the guide on the left-hand side of your screen, and the back of the guide on the right-hand side of your screen. And so it's just a one-page front and back guide. At the top, you can see Juan's name, a little bit about his in-boundary high school, which in this example is Anacostia. In the middle, and Taylor, if you actually advance the slide, it will have it will circle there in the middle. Yes, great. You can see what the College and Career Academies actually are at Anacostia. So in this case, it's the Civil Engineering Academy and the Public Leadership Academy. Every College and Career Academy, as Amelia was talking about, offers internship opportunities for students, certification opportunities that mean that students are really more ready for employment in whatever field they're studying in their academy right after high school. So it doesn't mean they need to go right to the workforce, right? They might want to attend college or post-secondary first, but these are really hands-on opportunities that we'll share that will get students more ready. Right there where the arrow just popped up, if your student is receiving either services because they are an English learner, or if they have an individualized education program or an IEP and they're receiving those services, this guide will also share with you what specific resources are available for those students at their in-boundary high school. So in this example, Juan, our student here, has an IEP, and so this guide is letting him know that at Anacostia, they actually have a job placement specialist that specifically works with students who have IEPs to talk with them about what their career options might be. So this guide is sharing that as well. If you go over to the back side of the guide, so on the other side of your screen where you can see the map, and if you advance the slide, there's an arrow, but the map is pretty hard to miss. This is a map that shares where all the college and career academies are at all of the high schools across DC. And then there's a table there that also shows you what they all are at each high school that has one. You'll notice that not every DCPS high school is shown on this guide. School Without Walls, Benjamin Banneker, Ron Brown are examples of schools that are really great options for students, but are not featured on this guide. That's not because we don't like those schools. Those schools are great, but they do not have a NAF College and Career Academy. So not every DCPS high school has one, and this guide really focuses on the high schools that do have this particular program, the College and Career Academy. And then the last thing to point out on the guide, example guide here, is a section that shares with you some resources about next steps that you might want to take after you think about your options. If you're interested in exploring more about the College and Career Academies, you can actually go to the website that Amelia mentioned before, which I think is dcpscte.org to find out more, or there's some other information there for you around finding out just more about DCPS options in general and the My School DC lottery, which we've already talked about a lot tonight. Okay, so then the last thing that I'm going to talk about before I think we go to some more Q&A is we often get questions about how do I find, what is the Aspen, what's the Aspen Parent Portal? How do I find this resource in my Aspen Parent Portal? So I just wanted to quickly sort of walk through how you might find that. If you log into Aspen, so the Aspen Parent Portal, and anyone is going to correct me and jump in if I'm wrong on this, but is a portal where you can see a lot of information about your DCPS students' performance. Students can log in, parents can log in. It's got things like grades, attendance, and this is also where you'll find the middle school guide to college and career academies. So once you log in, you should have login information if you are a middle or a high school family in your email somewhere. If you've never logged in before, if you can't find that or you don't have it, you should be able to reach out to your school to find that information. Once you've logged in, you should be able to find a page for documents. It's in the left-hand side menu, and you can see an example of what the button looks like there. Select documents and a drop-down will appear, and if you click on documents again, you can go to the next slide. You will see a long list probably of different documents that you can access. you want to find the one that's called your student's name, Guide to College and Career Academies. So in this example, we've got Jose. We're going to find his Guide to College and Career Academies. And you can actually see here that Jose has an English version of the guide and a version of the guide in Spanish because his family speaks both those languages at home. So we've got translated versions of this resource for Amharic and Spanish speaking families, as well as the version in English. And if you just click on that, more information will pop up. And if you just select that little, I'm not sure if it's like a floppy disk or a computer, but that button that is next to document, that will actually download the PDF of your student's guide, and you can view that information there. If this is too complicated or you don't want to log in, as I mentioned, there is a version of this coming directly to you in the mail. It should, if it's not already there, it should be there within the next few days. You can also talk to someone at your child's school, so a counselor or a teacher or a principal. They should all have access to the Guide to College and Career Academies in Aspen as well, and they can help you download that and have a discussion with you about that information. The middle school counselors in particular can be a great resource if you want to have a conversation about choosing a high school for next year. And that is all I've got. I will transition back over to Taylor, I think, for closeout and additional Q&A.
Thanks, Chloe. So just as a question, this guide is available just for DCPS 8th graders, correct? This is not something that is available for charter families?
Yes, that's correct. This is just for DCPS families. If you had a student in 8th grade starting this year, you should receive this guide. It's only for families who are enrolled in DCPS middle schools.
Okay, great. And just because these are the schools that are listed does not mean that, you know, my child would be bound to attending or applying to just these schools, right?
Yes, that's right. Your student can still apply to up to 12 different schools, as we heard earlier. This is just an additional resource and information for you as you are making that choice, but in no way means, you know, if you are matched with, if your in-boundary school is, you know, any of the schools and you're not interested in that one, that's totally fine. That's why we have the school lottery. That's why we have a lot of great options within DCPS for you to choose from.
Okay. And how often will this come to Aspen or my my mailbox, my real mailbox?
You'll get it. You'll get it once a year, and so families either should have those actually in their mailboxes now if they have an 8th grader, or it will happen once a year around this time. So next year in late November, early December, families who are currently have a 7th grade student can expect to get this guide in the mail, and it will live in Aspen. As far as I know, it will be there for forever. And so you can access this at any time over the next couple of months as you are thinking about where to enroll. If you want to do the lottery, if you don't want to do the lottery and you're just going to enroll in your in-boundary school or your feeder pattern school, then you can look at this at any point over the summer as well as you're thinking about that decision and enrolling.
Okay, and I want to go back because it's such a cool tool. What is your favorite feature of it, and what are some recommendations you would give to middle school families about, you know, how to use it?
That is such a great question. My favorite feature. I really love the map. I love the way that it turned out. I think that sharing information about the students in boundary school is great. Families can really hopefully use that as a springboard to find out more about their in-boundary school. but I love that the map visually shows where the schools are and also what's available there. And we really hope that this gets families excited about all of the different awesome program options. There are just so many great things happening in DCPS that families can explore. And so I would really encourage a family to look at this, have a conversation about whether what's there is interesting. Maybe ask some questions like, what is civil engineering? I definitely do not think I could even today describe that. And absolutely, as you know, a middle school student, I wouldn't have known. And it can be a great way for a family to start talking between themselves and, you know, with their student about what do you think you might be interested in doing in the future. And we know that, you know, as 8th graders, you're 13, 14 years old, you probably don't know for sure what you want to do for a career. Absolutely not expecting that students know now what they want to do in the future, but it can be a great way to start thinking about what that career pathway might be. And there's a lot of great resources out there for them to think about what jobs in that field might look like. And some of that is available on the DCPS CTE website that we posted before in the chat. And so I would just really encourage families as they are looking at this and using it to use it as that springboard to start talking about, you know, what might be exciting to me to do for a job in my future, and sort of what are the options within DCPS that will really help me get there.
Thanks, Chloe. This has been really helpful. I'm really excited about this. I know that it's only a matter of time before, you know, we start knocking on your door about an elementary school one for 5th graders. I know that I will be looking forward to that. I'm going to be pushing for that, but I think that this is really great. And so, you know, the fact that because families want to be more, they want to be involved, they want to know, you know, how to navigate DCPS, which even for somebody who's internal, it can be a little bit overwhelming. So providing them with resources like this is great. So thank you, and thanks to the career and college folks for coming up with this. This is really awesome. Well, to start wrapping up, it's dinner time in my house, if you can hear my toddler. So I'm sure that it's dinner time in yours. So just want to remind you all about workshops that are coming up, the last 2 of the annual year. We have Ready for Pre-K. Yes, Mama, juice. Ready for Pre-K session 2, building children's language skills. So, and then also we have our Spanish session talking about race with your children. And so we want to be able to have, you know, as families, we often find that we have to have tough conversations with our children. And so, you know, DCPS, we don't want you to feel like you have to do that alone. Juice is coming, Mama. 5 more minutes. Thank you. So please RSVP at bit.ly/DCPS Parent U RSVP. And we'd love to see you in the future. Keep an eye out for upcoming workshops. We also, there are those questions. We will also have a recording of this workshop and our past recordings of past workshops at bit.ly DCPS Parent U Rex. And so you'll be, if you missed a workshop, you're like, man, I wish I had been there. Or you have, you want to go back through this one to say, like, what did they say about feeder patterns? You'll be able to check this out on our YouTube channel. As always, you know, things are ever evolving with school openings, and so keep checking our DCPS reopenstrong.com website for up-to-date information. We also want to know how we did. We want to make sure, you know, this is a tough, this is, you know, 5 o'clock, you know, you're trying to get dinner ready. And so we want to make sure that we are making the most of your time. So if you could let us know how we did at bit.ly Parent U eval 19, very quick survey. Let us know how we're doing. And then also, if you have any follow-up questions that you need the answer to, please email us at parentu@k12.dc.gov. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you to Lauren, to Emerald, to Chloe, to Amelia for giving us the insight about, helping guide our children through their educational paths. It's not something that I take lightly. I know that as families, we want to know what the options are for our children. And so thank you to our presenters today for being able to give us some of their time and walk us through the lottery and the different feeder patterns, as well as the new tool of the middle school guide to NAF Academies. And so if you are a middle school family of an 8th grader, keep an eye out in your mailbox, and keep an eye out in Aspen for it. Thank you all again for joining us. You all are absolutely amazing, and you all have a wonderful night. And tell your kids we said hello.